Are you looking at my cheetah pants? You got a problem with my cheetah pants? I'll tell you one thing. I killed that cheetah myself and sewed its body to my legs. What did you do? Hello everyone. Thank you for the support on the last couple of videos. The Rumbler Ogryn build got some pretty good support, and so did the veteran one. I did have someone ask if I could break down the Rumbler Ogryn build a little bit more in detail. So absolutely. So the first thing I want to say about that build is my main goal of it was to get into Auric, right? So the highest I've done with it is Auric Heresy. Does pretty well, and one of the focuses of the build is to be a monster killer, right? It also takes care of Ogryns pretty quickly, so that's another plus. You've got pretty good up close crowd control, toughness regeneration. You can support your teammates from a distance, you know, if they get cornered by a lot of enemies, and you can also take out those clusters of like ranged people from a distance, so that's nice. You're not getting harassed as much, because that's one thing that I absolutely will die to every time in a Auric match, is just constant fire. So why don't we go ahead and take a look at it. I'll break down the talents and the blessing, the perks, and give you a little strategy, maybe some substitutions to the talent too. So the first thing I'll start off with is the Rumbler itself, right? So for the perks, I got 25% damage and 8.5% reload speed. That's just because I had to upgrade. You know, you can only upgrade 2 slots, so I would have gone up to the next tier of reload speed, because reload speed with this build is pretty essential. But so for the blessings, we have the adhesive charges. I have not been able to find a tier 4 one, so when I do, I'll replace it, but I might not even go higher than 3, because what's it gonna do at 4? Fucking go up their ass. And then the second blessing was Shattering Impact. So target receives 4 stacks of 5% brittleness on direct projectile hit, and it lasts for 5 seconds. So when you're facing like a monster, I mean, that's building up. Secondary action on it, the same, right? I mean, it's got really high damage. And like I said, the Carapace armored enemies, you're not going to do much against like gunners, things like that, right? But it is great for CC, which I'll show you in a second. Curios that I got were plus 19% max health, 4% combat ability regeneration, and corruption resistance. The combat ability regeneration is also a staple in this build, and I have that on 2 of them, I believe. Yeah, 2 of them. And then revive speed, kind of just things to help the team out. And then more toughness, more wounds, and of course auto dockets, because who doesn't like money? And then for our melee weapon, I can't give up the latrine shovel. It's just too good. It's got nice, the little punch attack is great, knocks ragers down. It has fantastic crowd control, really strong heavy attack. I did plus 25% damage against infested enemies and plus 20% damage against maniacs, because I fucking hate ragers. I just can't take them. And then for the blessings, I went with thrust, so up to 20% power based on the charge time of your heavy attack, stacks for 3 times. And Confident Strike, which gives you plus 8% toughness on chained hit. So when you're like in the middle, like right here, when you're like in the middle of, and you're taking damage from other sources, say there's gunners shooting at you and stuff, and you just pin down, you can go ahead and survive off the melee enemies around you. Hopefully one of your teammates will take care of the ranged enemies, but you do have some really good survivability with this build. So we'll go ahead and move on to the talent portion of it. Talent portion, there's a lot that you can do with this build. I just have it set up so that there's a lot of cooldown reductions, stuff like that. So the first one I went was Reloaded and Ready, plus 12% range damage for 6 seconds on reload. That'll be really good paired with your ult. You're literally shooting, reloading. So that increased damage helps a lot. Then we have Heavyweight, plus 30% damage against Bulwarks, Crushers, Plague Ogryns, and Reapers. Also receive plus 30% damage reduction against the same. Just to help your team out and yourself with the survivability again. You'll destroy Plague Ogryns. You really will. And then Crushers, Bulwarks, Reapers, you launch a sticky bomb at them, they're done. The linchpin is nice because the toughness replenished while incoherency is increased by 50%. So again, goes with survivability. You're not going to die too easily if you play your cards right. Then we have plus 25% toughness. Your grenades, I always am a fan of the big friendly rock, right? But I did go with bombs away because, again, I'm trying to help my teammates out. So say someone goes down, you can toss a bombs away down and pretty much clear the area around them while you get that person up. Soften them up. Enemies damaged by you take plus 15% more damage for 5 seconds. So that goes along well with the brittleness blessing. You're really just weakening the monsters, the enemies, whoever you're shooting at. Then we got plus 15 toughness. Our point blank barrage. So it swaps to and reloads your ranged weapon. You have plus 25% rate of fire and 70% reload speed for the next 10 seconds. That partnered with bullet bravado which while point blank range or barrage is active, replenish plus 2% toughness for every shot fired and plus 10% toughness on each reload. So again, survivability, right? And hail of fire, plus 30% rending to your ranged attacks while point blank range is active. So while you're shooting, you're stacking up brittleness on them. They're taking plus 15% more damage from you and plus 30% rending. So you're literally tearing enemies apart. You get 5% reload speed, increase your ammo reserve by plus 25%, hitting 5 or more enemies with a single attack grants plus 25% reload speed for 5 seconds, and then you get plus 5% range damage. This one can be modified. You don't have to go that one. That's one of the ones that's interchangeable in my opinion, but it's still good. And then I went down the middle route, right? Because Coward Calling is good, plus 20% damage against suppressed enemies for you and allies in coherency. That is good, but the problem is that when an enemy is suppressed or like they're behind fire or they're behind cover and suppressed, it's kind of hard to arc your grenade back there. So I did go this middle one, Hard Knocks, plus 1% damage to your heavy melee attack on enemy stagger, plus stacks 25 times. Of course, with your shovel, you're going to be staggering people left and right, and that goes along with Ragers, right? If you punch them, knock them down, you'll get at least some extra damage against them. Then Stay Close, plus 20% replenishment or toughness replenishment for you and allies in coherency. You could also go Bonebreaker's Aura, but not, I wouldn't recommend it. It doesn't really make sense in this build. Then you get the plus 15 toughness, plus 10% toughness damage reduction. And then I like Get Stuck In, partnered with this build. On activating your combat ability, you and allies in coherency gain plus 20% movement speed and are also immune to stuns and suppression. So you pop your, whatever this one's name is, and suddenly you have all these immunities and more movements. And then we went with Bruiser, 5% combat ability cooldown reduction when you or an ally in coherency kills an elite enemy. On Auric, you're going to be killing elite enemies constantly, so your cooldown is going to be nice and short. Then we move over here to the right tree. This is our final tree, right? So plus 50% coherency radius, so that goes along with Bruiser pretty well. Increase explosion radius by 25% or 22.5%. Again, how could you not do that? Not only is your Rumbler blowing things up further, but so is your big box of grenades. Then we have plus 25% suppression dealt. You take minus 15% reduced damage while bracing a ranged weapon. That, you have to pick that up to get to this tree, right? It doesn't really go with the Rumbler, but we make sacrifices where we have to. Plus 5% range damage. Now this is my favorite part of the build. The Burst Limiter Override, 5% chance of triggering Lucky Bullet and not consuming ammo when making ranged attacks. Partnered with maximum firepower, plus 200% ability cooldown reduction for 2 seconds when Lucky Bullet triggers. Then the shot that triggers Lucky Bullet is a guaranteed critical hit if it hits, and then your chance of triggering Lucky Bullet is increased to 8%. When you ult, you are gonna retain a lot of your ammo. It procs pretty often, and it's honestly just a solid talent to have. So that about sums up the build. I hope I answered that guy's questions, and like I said, feel free to make your variations. Let me know what your variations came out to be. If you found anything that works better with this, works not as good with this, don't tell me that. But of course, once I start unlocking more blessings, maybe I'll switch this up a bit. But for right now, this is really working for me. This is the best way that I found the Rumbler to be put to good use, and I do hope that it helps you kill your heretics. If you enjoyed the video, please feel free to subscribe. I would love it. Go ahead and give me a like. No, you know what? Matter of fact, go ahead and subscribe for Cheetah Pants. All right, everybody, have a great day. Enjoy the rainy weather. That's what it is here, rainy and cold. So that's fun. Have yourself a great morning, evening, afternoon, whatever you're doing. Take care.